Within the single expanse, supremely spacious by nature, awakened mind equal to space is pivotal. Focus on this key point and distill it to its vital essence. It is the greatest of the great, wholly positive and spacious enlightened mind. In its very essence, it thoroughly shatters the outer confines of reality. Within this single vast expanse, there is no duality of realization versus its lack, of freedom versus its lack, but a supreme state of equalness. A Garuda whose wings have grown within the egg abides in the expanse of the sky once it breaks out of the egg. It overwhelms nagas and crosses directly over abysses. So also a fortunate yogin who has realized the Vajra heart, essence just as it is, the pinnacle of all spiritual approaches, outshines those following lower approaches and crosses directly over the abyss of samsara. The freedom of everything abiding in a supreme state of equalness is unacceptable to those involved in cause and effect, effort and achievement, but in the most sublime approach it makes perfect sense as the ultimate meaning of unwavering equalness. Longchenpa, continuing the basic space of phenomena. This is Therein Littlejohn. It's episode 107 today of the 12-Step Buddhist podcast. We're looking at the topic, surrender to the now, get grounded in recovery. The famous now is where we want to be, but wanting gets us nowhere. The root of suffering, said Buddha, is attachment. To free ourselves, we must cut it out at the root. The root lies in our very desire to be somewhere, anywhere other than right here, right now. As addicts, we've tried to be someone else, somewhere else for our own survival. In recovery, we need to learn heart-opening, mindful skills to be our own best healers. In service to this vital necessity of practice, let's not gloss over the now, objectify the now, reify, or even deify the now. Rather, let's follow the advice of the AA Big Book, which says that we had to let go absolutely or the result was nil. Therein lies the conundrum and the very core of opportunity for practice. I'm talking about that today, of being in the now, the sacred now, the holy now, the ordinary now. We're not ahead of the now or behind the now. But we're trying to get in the now, and everybody's talked about this so long in so many ways, so many books, so many teachings, so many yoga classes. You can go on Instagram and they'll send you an ad for a course on how to be a mindfulness teacher. But all this notwithstanding, what we're really getting to with all of it, in my experience, is surrender. And this is the number one component of 12-step recovery. It's the first component of finding healing from addictions, is to stop trying to control it. And in the surrender of our meditation practice as Buddhists in recovery, at least for me, it's a constant surrender. It's a constant trying to meet life on life's terms, as I said last episode. The effort just has to be sustained. The effort and the commitment has to be enduring to achieve any results. If we walk up the mountain because we got a roadmap to how to find liberation from our suffering, the solution to our problems, and we get to the top of the mountain, and we may come upon the temple door, but we can't open the temple door, and no one's going to open it for us. The only thing we can do is realize there's no door to enter, like it says, gone, gone, gone to the other shore, realizing we had never left. In the Parinirvana Sutra. Did I say Parinirvana? Anyways, I might have that wrong, but I'm not looking it up right now. The sutra, at any rate, says this separation of subject-object, this is really, and as was mentioned in a recent course that I've been taking, this has really been discussed in every major system, in many major systems. The harder we try, the harder it is to get. We cannot attain enlightenment, yet there is a way, and the way is to surrender. And the instructions are from the Buddhists. They're from the enlightened beings. They've worked for others, like your AA sponsor, like that person who, went before us in the meeting that we listened to. I've tried to squirm out of the now, how many times today? The thing is that as we get older, squirming out of the now becomes harder because we realize the effort that we put in the past hasn't really worked. You can't really avoid the parts of your body that start to go bad and the memory that starts to slip and the things that happen as we get older, birth, sickness, old age, and death. This is samsara. This is what Buddha talked about. This is what we have to understand, one of the basic Buddhist principles, such as impermanence, equanimity, loving kindness, the suffering of samsara, and the fact that our actions, karmic causes. We are in our own karmic state due to our own actions. And the action is splitting me from you. The action is being separate, seeing ourselves as something other than this equanimous, continuous, unaltered, unbreakable Buddha state. And, and that pure nature, as my teacher says, in the reality, this is what we're reading in Longchenpa. These are the transmissions. You have to get transmissions from qualified masters in order to get in the lineage and really start working on these things at these kind of levels. But what we can all identify with is this power of now, really this notion that in the present moment without resistance. Let's try it. Inhale. Exhale. And we just let go of everything. We let go of who we think we are, who we need to be, what we didn't do right, what we did do right, what we need, what we don't need. It's really, really difficult, and that's why this practice takes commitment and time. The instructions, the steps, like the 12 steps, the steps that lead us up to the temple door, these are them. And you can get them in a lot of places, and you can get them at different levels and different systems from different teachers. You can look for the instructors like over at Tara Mandala in Colorado or in the teachers and instructors that I have on the podcast website. That's podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. You can find out more about these things, but I'm always trying to bring it and distill it into the basic, the simplest application. Meeting life on life's terms, in the present moment awareness, in the now. Let's not deceive ourselves into thinking we're really being in the now if we're not. And the reality is, and I've said this for many years, if we're really in the now, we're Buddha. If we're really in the now, we're really in the Buddha nature. So we have to, we can get glimmers, we can get experiences, we can get something to develop. And it's easier if we just think about all this as loving kindness and compassion, no resistance, and having openness, having loving kindness and compassion and self-compassion, living by the basic principles of 12 steps, the basic principles of yoga, the basic principles of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and so forth, basic tenets and principles of loving kindness and peace and love anywhere that we might find them. And, with all the hatred and all the crazy vibes going on in the world and all the destruction and just so much suffering, don't we need more presence, really present in the now, really looking at a person, really listening to them, really trying to be available for ourselves and others. Inhale. Let go absolutely. So I'm not really going to have a long session today, a long episode rather. Pardon if this one doesn't have as much edits as it normally would, if there's a little more space between things. I'm really just trying to get a show out. Life has been super hard and just really tough being out in the barren landscape here, not kind of, but definitely. And, having no transportation and little funds. It's just, it's a real challenging time. A friend of mine, John from 12-Step, who I've known since 1984 when I first got sober, he's a dedicated, a Catholic mystic in recovery. And he pointed me to this a couple of books I'm looking at, and I'll put these in the show notes. But one of them is Thomas Merton, The Wisdom of the Desert Fathers, or Fathers of the Desert. And then there's another one called Wisdom of the Desert, Fathers and Mothers. I'll post the link to both of those on podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. But these are, times I'm looking at the desert. It's bleak, it's barren, it's tough, it's rough, it's hard for me. I feel like I'm shaken. I feel like I'm quivering. I mean, my niece has come to the Midwest. Well, okay. So I'm trying to meet the challenge and make lemonade out of lemons and, be a yogi and be a practitioner here. But, I'm sorry I'm not getting the best of me when I'm at this kind of point, though. I'm really trying to practice what I preach. I'm trying to meet my own basic survival needs and also be compassionate and kind of service. It isn't always my best game, but I'm really committed to the path, y'all. I'm gonna get up that staircase to the temple of now. I remember being 16 years old and in between several high schools and having just been busted by the cops and felt up by the cop while I was kidding. Guy grabs my balls when he's trying to search me. I'm 16. I'm like, holy crap, that really happened. Is this a TV show? Anyways, all that happened, and I remember sitting in my room with a jar of liquid LSD somewhere around, allegedly, probably, in there, and I'm trying to read this book called Total Mind Power to understand something, and somehow, this is how I've been this way since I was a little kid. I've been a contemplative person. I mean, who else would think of that, So I remember that book, and it's still out. I'll put that in the show notes too, just for fun. It's still there, and I remember just trying to look for something, and here I am with the Dharma and reading the teachings of Longchenpa, and it really is unsurpassable. The Dharma really is unsurpassable. Now, thanks to Lama Zopa Rinpoche and the Foundations for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition, I know that. Thanks to Venerable Robina, I know that. And thanks to all my teachers, I know that. Let's dedicate the merits of this practice to all beings who suffer Om Ahum. May we all be free of suffering and all the causes and roots of suffering, me included and you included. And we can all just be empty. Have an inhale. Fill your heart with empty compassion. Exhale. Abide in the basic space. This is what Chogyam Trungpa called it, abide in basic space. Calm abiding. We can start with shunyata, these types of meditation practices. It's the beginning, not the end. Like I said, it's been kind of tough, and I didn't sleep at all last night, and I'm just feeling really low energy and kind of brittle. And I don't know, I'm working on this, working on my program, working on my recovery, working on my books, working on my thinking about my books. I've got to get on the pen to paper aspect of that. But, I'm here and I continue, and I'm here to let you know that even though it can be this tough, we can still not drink and we can still continue on the path, all right? I'm going to try again, hit you up next week with another podcast episode on another Buddhist recovery topic. Until then, y'all, peace out and namaste.